guys, welcome to another set of episode of Culture Anime. This episode we will begin our review on Boruto Chapter 75 and Reishan. This chapter easily best chapter of the year. I believe there's nothing else that can compare to this. This right here, so much bombshells was just dropped on us, and I can't believe, I can't wait to get into it. That's how much this chapter was so damn great. But before we start, guys, Reishan, where can they find you at?
You guys can find me on all your podcasting platforms at Rayshawn Gatson Anime Podcast, or ORGAT for short.
Also, hit the subscribe button, part of the Coach Game, with my anime, sports, and everything as well too. So, chapter starts off. Remember, Amado is getting questioned out by Shikamaru and Naruto about Eida, Damon, and everything else. What he knows, what's his motive as well too. So, for the first couple of panels, it's more him just recapping of what Eida and Damon's powers are. So, it's not really too much to really dive into it. So, we're just gonna move on ahead. But the one thing I did like was when Amado was explaining Damon's power, that he can do the reflection if you have the intent to kill him, and then Boruto and Kawaki just chilling, and Kawaki is like, let me see if this is true. So in his mind, he has the intent to kill him, and then the next panel, you just see him just get smacked the right hell up. I'm like, come on, man, come on, Kawaki.
I think it's interesting the way you phrased that to make sure that was true, because it seemed like this whole chapter, it was like they were just trying to make sure everything he was saying was true. What was so funny to me about Amado, when it seemed like, what has he really been lying about? Like that's like, this is what I've been trying to okay, yeah, act like he's been lying, but he is being a little deceitful. Cause I feel that, but it's still like, come on, y'all don't know that.
And one thing about Kawaki and Amado, they used to work together as well too when they were in the car group. So Kawaki is to even question him tells you that Amado is a pathological liar, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
So as of right now, Naruto's getting really curious, and he's like, how are you developing these cyborgs, with these amazing abilities and all that stuff. And this right here, this is what got me a little bit, where Amado says development wouldn't be accurate. I'm a mere human, not a god. The crafting of these abilities is a feat permanent only to gods. For what I did, simply translate things to things that already existed. And now, this right here, things get even more tricky with Amado. So Shikamaru, asks transplant, explain that. And he's like, their abilities were bought by a god. Someone who actually evolved into, being a godlike being, the Otsutsuki, Shibai. And Reishan, one thing that me and you can both agree on, this design of Shibai is fire.
Yeah, he looks
fine.
nice.
Even though we didn't get a full, glimpse of how he looks, right now they're just foreshadowing for the future what's gonna happen in Boruto. It definitely.
I think we have seen how he looked, because this is the same person that came to Code or something, didn't he? And he was like, I want you to. Oh no, that was that was Ishiki. I thought we'd seen some type of image of him. Maybe I'm wrong.
So then Amado goes on saying that by repeatedly undergoing karma resurrection, Shibai created death, devoured many fruits over several millenniums, and eventually collective evolution. So what should take with this new Otsutsuki, now that we have another threat? They're saying that he's dead for now, but what do you think about this this new Otsutsuki?
One thing I will say that I think Amado is kind of weird about how he's telling the story, because I feel like the timeline is a little bit off with how he was kind of telling this story, because the way he tells this story, you would kind of think Damon and what's her name, Eida, was made after the other what's gonna happen, but that couldn't be possible. So that's why I think the way he's telling the story is a little iffy.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main thing about it. What was the exact question you asked me, so I can answer that?
Oh, what you think? What you take on the design of Shibai?
Oh, Shibai he looked powerful. He looked like somebody that. See, okay, this is the one thing when I told you earlier that was kind of throwing me off a little bit. I like One Piece or Oda. I like how when he wrote out the One Piece, he wrote it out. I feel like this is just getting thrown in here a little bit, because when you think about the Naruto universe and all the stuff, you're like, nothing. Like, we have nothing else to show for this person's existence. No other mentions, nothing even about this new type of jutsu. That's why I'm like, and this person came out before all these people,
and then Naruto's getting real skeptical. He's like, yo, how in the hell are you able to, make these cheat like, cyborgs with Eida and Damon's power? And I don't know if he's saying that he, took some of his DNA harvest from Shinbai remains, was able to, transplant it into these new cyborgs. And Shikamaru, once again, one thing about Shikamaru, he's one step ahead. He's thinking, I don't believe him. Let me ask somebody else if they could confirm this answer as well too. And he asks, the scientist for, that works in the village and all that stuff. And he's saying that, everything that he witnessed, with Amado stuff, like their technology is so damn advanced. Like, yes, it is believable as well too.
But hey, this is what I'm gonna say. If I'm gonna check your work, why I'm gonna ask somebody that's not as smart as you? that would be the insult to me.
Do you know the one person I would ask though about all these things that's going on is Orochimaru?
Most deaf.
Why are you asking this guy who just got his degree 10 years ago? You know what I mean? Like, I actually Orochimaru who's been doing this for decades.
I would have been like, I'm doing things this man can't even imagine doing. Like,
and then right here is, we're seeing the true strength of, the Otsutsuki, Shinbai. And he's explaining to them, Shinbai's various abilities were quite incredible, it said. Without needing to weave any signs in the jutsu, he generates storms with a wave of his hands. Basically say, you know what? I ain't gotta do no, how everybody do their moves and stuff. I ain't gonna do nothing. Just wave my hand and that's it. Storm's coming. And then on top of that, called forth thunderbolts with just an angry roar. That right there is just saying like, we're going to a whole nother level with these villains now. What's your take on that?
see, like, my take on this is crazy to think that, I mean, there is a being like that. But then to me, it makes me think, who is Amado to have met this person? Because he had to meet them, I'm thinking, before Ishiki. So it's like, who the fuck is Amado? Like, for them to be coming out to him and shit.
So one thing that you bring that up, if you look at the design of Shinbai, he has that chin stripe that Amado has as well too. And I was like looking at it, I was like just examining it. I'm like, yo, I think Shinbai's Amado.
That'd be interesting as fuck. That would be super interesting.
Because like he knows too much. Like how do you know how to take these DNAs from the Suskis, transplant to another cyborg and all that stuff? How do you know there's so much about the karma, able to, we'll talk about later about the resurrection and stuff. Like, how do you know all these things? You have to be in the Suski yourself.
Or something, like, because something's I'm glad they questioned him, because you have to.
Yeah. And this right here, we're kind of belittles, the ninjutsu stuff right now, where he said that given the name Shinjutsu, a godlike abilities were neither ninjutsu nor sage art. There were going to be, divine miracles, basically. So basically, ninjutsu is basically a copycat of Shinjutsu. Like, it doesn't have, the same meaning as each. Shinjutsu is a whole nother class when it comes to ninjutsu right there. And I'm like, holy shit. And then, Naruto questions, Shinjutsu. And he also says, in addition to Eida and Damon's abilities, Code Climax is also Shinjutsu. Also, as Sukuna and all that stuff, and all the abilities that Kawaki has from Ishiki also is considered Shinjutsu. So basically, Shinjutsu is the highest class level of power and all that stuff. And right here is ninjutsu. What do you think about that?
But like, if you kind of think of how he's saying this man has this man's remains just somewhere and just pitting them inside like random cyborgs or something. I feel like either somebody's gonna be like, hey, you need to figure out what you can pit inside me or something, because I don't understand. Like, it's just crazy that, yeah, it is crazy that he had this ability to do this. And then it kind of like, I wonder how much Ishiki was in on this plan too, because it's kind of interesting. It's real interesting.
And it's also gonna say, like, where does Ishiki rank with all the Suskis? Like, is he up there or is this Shinbai up there? Like I want to know.
Shinbai got to be higher.
Yes, but same thing, like Momoshiki, Kaguya. Like, I want to know how they rank, Suski level wise and all that stuff.
I think now how he was saying it earlier. This is just a whole guess right now. I think it might actually be based on how many times you reincarnate with the fruit. I think that probably has something to do with like your evolution of power and stuff to get into godhood. I think it's probably amount of times you need to reincarnate or some shit.
And another thing that I'm gonna bring up as well too is the immortality art that enables resurrection, which is called the karma mark. And right there, you see Kawaki once again just having that stare in his face, like Amado. He doesn't believe what Amado's truly saying on stuff. As of right now, Naruto and Shikamaru just like feel like, damn. So I guess ninjutsu doesn't mean nothing. And Amado basically says that, all due respect, are you saying our ninjutsu is nothing? He's basically saying, yeah, like it doesn't compare nothing to Shinjutsu right now. Shinjutsu is in a whole another class.
Yeah, I mean, look at the abilities compared to y'all abilities. Y'all need to figure out how y'all gonna get into that
And then
universe.
one thing about Shikamaru, he continues with the questions. He doesn't stop. Asking there. He's like, why is he a corpse? And that someone killed him. And Amado says, smoking a cigarette. When he has that look, he's like, his eyes are closed, and I feel like he's lying because he says, I don't know what exactly happened, but it's certainly a possibility that he was killed. But Ishiki will have to know what happened to Shinbai. Like, you know what I mean? Like, eventually, like, there has to be something type of communication. We'll talk about later as well. We know Jigen and Amado meets up again. Like, they have to tell each other about like Shinbai. How does he know so much about Shinbai? You know what I mean? That Ishiki had to know something that happened to Shinbai.
See, this is why I'm saying how he's telling the story, like how his abilities were, is making it seem like him and Shinbai were cool. They were talking and chilling, and he was giving them stories and shit. And then, like, someday he died, and then to me it's weird. Why it's weird is because he made it seem like Ishiki was the person that made him the promise, which I think that is the lie. I don't think Ishiki probably made him the promise to resurrect. I think it probably was Shibe. And I think he was probably one that who probably came. Oh, I don't know. I'm not for sure about this, but Amado might be the one that's been promoting the karma mark.
I definitely see where you're going with this. And right now, Amino says, after many cycles of evolution, he ascended to a higher dimension where a physical body isn't required. So basically saying he's still alive, but he doesn't need to be in his body. Basically same way how Momoshiki is still alive, but he's in Boruto's body. That's how I take it. Same thing how Ishiki's dead, but he's still in Kawaki's body. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying, but I think theirs is different because I think theirs is like actually part of him. I think he's actually within like that whole world, but within another dimension. Like he's like their god basically, which is kind of weird, but yeah.
And then basically, right now he's saying that, right now I got sidetracked. What I'm trying to say is that Otsutsuki power contains hope, which makes it impossible to us, but possible, such as bringing his daughter back to life. And then I always thought Eida was his daughter. I think me and you both said that Eida was his daughter, but no, the whole entire time it was Delta.
For some reason, I think somebody said that to me one time, and I just threw it off. But when it came, I was like, damn.
Yeah. And then right now you see Delta running up to Sadara Miski right now, basically saying, this right here was weird. But she's like, oh, I want to see Eida, I want to see Eida, I want to see Eida and all that stuff. And everybody's like, yo, chill out, though. We're in the middle of a mission, you know what I mean? And remember we had this conversation last chapter review. Sumidi popped up and he was able to shut down Delta.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Eida and Sumidi meet, I feel like they're gonna clash because she's gonna see how Kawaki talks to her and all that stuff. And I feel like what you said before is that she's gonna flip out because how Kawaki sees Sumidi. You think that same thing's gonna happen?
I still think that is a possibility to happen, especially kind of what I guess what the vision Boruto was seeing. But what I thought was interesting about this ability, right? Because when I was doing a chapter review with someone on my channel, we were thinking that what's her name had to see you for the ability to work. What she did like previous chapters ago. So now I'm thinking, is the power dormant to the point where if she's in the area, if she's seen you before, you're still affected? Because that's interesting right there.
Yeah, definitely. They probably haven't seen each other for a couple days already, and right now she's still locked in. Like, okay, I need to see Eida right now. So maybe it's the power that just lasts until she stops her stuff. Like she casts away her power.
Or if she's like pulling her, but everybody else is not affected by it. What this is that to me, that's a real interesting thing right there.
And then right here, this is where we start getting, the real Amado right here. And he's talking about his daughter Ikabe, suffered from a terrible disease. And right now, he tried everything in his power to bring her back to life because, that's all he had. And right now, this panel right here, you see why. I think this is why he started smoking cigarettes because everything happened to his daughter. And the panel right here, when he's like in the science room and all that stuff, and just like a floating particles and all that stuff, basically saying that, he's doing everything he can to bring her back to life, cloning multiple deltas, to try to bring her back. But when it does happen, each delta has his own, unique personality that it doesn't replicate his daughter as well, too. And he starts to realize that, her memories are not there anymore. And then he basically saying that, everything that is going on, all the remakes and all that stuff, he realized that he's not a god. and doesn't have that type of power because, yeah, she's coming back on that stuff, but it's not her. Even though he has a file of her, her memories and all that stuff, she's not coming back as, as Ikabe.
Which to me is interesting, that to the point to where like I felt like seemed like he skipped past wanting to like cure the disease, where he got to the point where he was like, no, I'm just going to create a clone and remake you. To me, which automatically to me seemed like he was already kind of defying science right there. So it's like I feel like he do have some type of higher ranking that we are knowing.
And one thing I did like too, I didn't think we was gonna see him, was a flashback story where Jigen meets up with Amado. I'm not gonna lie to you, I miss Jigen because he was that dude.
Yeah,
And
he
basically,
had that whole like scary vibe.
Then he appeared, and that's what he said. I'll help him out and stuff. And he's been saying that if you help me out with the car and all that stuff, I'll help revive your daughter and all that stuff. And as of right now, that's why he created the mechanism called, which is the car mark and all that stuff. And it's what Ishiki was trying to do through vessels and try to attempt to reproduce Ikabe as a clone. Was also almost identical, but at the same time, Ishiki's plan was make the chocolate fruit and devour the world. So he basically saying that I'm gonna use Ishiki to get my daughter back, and I'm gonna try to fuck him over at the same exact time, because why would I bring my daughter back to a world that doesn't exist?
Which is true. Let me give you this timeline where it's kind of like weird to me a little bit, because with the Jigen thing, because how I'm thinking how everything went, especially with Shikamaru asking him to confirm all this stuff that happened, because that's the next thing. He asked him, Eida, to confirm this stuff, right? But then it was something they said earlier when they said Eida can only confirm stuff for long as she's been alive, right? So that would mean that she was alive technically when her daughter was made, right? His daughter was alive. But before that, he had to make them with the Shibai, right? So that means he knew Shibai either before his daughter was born or while his daughter was born, right? So it's just, to me, this is just so crazy with the timeline, how everything is working out. And to me, it's kind of like, I feel like he's kind of telling it in a weird way where it sounds like it's in the reverse, if you get what I'm saying.
And plus, for him to even do that, they have to be dead. So Eida and Damon had to be dead as well too for them to. So this right here is everything's getting crazy. Because remember, Kachikoji was dead, Jiraiya, Delta was dead because Ikabe, his daughter. Eida had to be dead, and Damon as well had to be dead too.
This is a interesting story, bro. It's and then there's something else that happens, but I'm gonna let you get there first before I bring it.
And then Amado continues his his conversation with talking about his daughter Ikabe, and he also says that added Ikabe's day, the two Kawaki's reconstruct the karma mark. All Kawaki has to do is implant the karma mark into a new clone body that I prepared, and that should be enough to revive Ikabe. And then right there, yeah, exactly. Because you see Kawaki's face, he's like, I don't fucking believe you. You have a different motive as well too. And Boruto is trying to level. Hey, Kawaki, maybe it wasn't all that bad and stuff. And maybe deep down, I think Amado trying to resurrect Shinbei.
I think that might have something to do with it, but I don't think it's as easy as Kawaki just putting a mark on something, because that don't even make sense. Because for the whole resurrection thing to happen, Kawaki will have to die.
Pretty
so
much.
Who's getting resurrected? Like that's the interesting thing. So he's interesting. Like,
and it's true said, like, Kawaki has to die to give the karma. Basically, you can't just transfer, like that data and other things. No, you have to die as well too. Remember when Momoshiki's gonna take over Boruto's body before he got killed, Boruto was going to die. So, freaking Amado, man. And this right here was kind of savage though too, when Shikamaru was like, you know what, Eida, confirm this shit. Tell me if this is true or not. And then Amado, he was low key tight. He's like, dude, like, I'm not gonna lie about my daughter and all that stuff. And I'm like, end of the day, Shikamaru has to do his best within the village and all that stuff, and understand that everything that is true what you're saying about your daughter as well too.
Yeah, it makes it interesting to what you think Shikamaru actually think what comes out his mouth is true. Because it makes you think he probably questions everything that comes out. What you need to do in this perspective, because you don't know this man. He literally worked for the other side. He just switched to your side. which you can honestly say he probably did that because it better him off on the long run. So yeah, I would question everything he did too, man.
So before we move on to the best section of the chapter, comment below, tell me, what you guys think about Shinbai. Also, to comment below, know what you guys think about Amado's plan, and do you believe him everything he's talking about, him resurrecting his daughter. So Rashawn, I'm not gonna lie to you right now. This right here is when the chapter got really, really, really good. Right now, Boruto's just chilling, all that stuff, and just having a good time. And our boy came back, man. And he was like, yo, do you hear me? And he's like, who are you talking about? Momoshiki and Boruto are now having conversations between themselves. Now I'm like, every time Momoshiki pops up, Bash is about to happen. And he basically saying that, a new effect apparently arose from, supplement from your damages. Remember he got that giant, hole in his chest, and Momoshiki basically saved him, but he also said that, he'll never be resurrected. So right now it's basically intertwining with each other now. So now their thoughts are linked now. And one thing that this was telling, he's saying, what about Amado just said? There's something off about it. And he says, Boruto now asking him, do you distrust him? And he's saying that, dude, I know every Shinjutsu in the entire world. But the love thing, I had never seen that a day in my life. And I'm like, Amado did something. And this right here was like, oh, Amado, come on, man. Come on.
Well, I mean, I knew it had to be something because it didn't make sense, but it is interesting that he can make an ability like that. If he made the ability, because we haven't got that confirmed, but I mean, it's the only other option you can really think of. But then, like, it's like, why would he create that specific ability? Which I think is fucking crazy.
Maybe he made that ability so that maybe when he does resurrect Ikabe again, he could probably, if this is probably the final straw and this doesn't work, maybe I can use Eida's ability for me to fall in love with my daughter again. Maybe to blind him and all that stuff. Remember, like, he's doing all this for his daughter.
Yeah, I guess you could see that. I don't know. I feel like this. I don't know if it's something, a hidden dark thing. Like, I don't think Amado wants to like bring down like the whole ninja world. Like, I don't think it's that deep. But I do think there is a plan to fuck over somebody because they not his daughter. I don't know if it's going to be Kawaki or Boruto, but I feel like he's going to try to fuck somebody over to either try to resurrect her or whatever his end goal is. Because to be honest with you, sometimes I feel like that might be his goal, but then that might just be something to say to make people think that's your goal because it sounds so good. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to resurrect my daughter. Yeah.
This little piece that I missed, that this right here is very telling, where Momoshiki basically tells Boruto, hey, don't make it noticeable that me and you are talking, because right now I don't want to go one-on-one against Kawaki right now. And this right here tells what's gonna happen in the future as well too, because as of right now, Boruto's Byakugan gets activated and he starts seeing the future. And right now you see a bunch of Shinobis right now, and then you see Team 10 right now. Mind you, Team 10 is around because they want to go see Eida and Damon and all that stuff. That's just ain't what a friend does. You hear me? And basically Shikadai is basically using his his no jutsu and all that stuff. At the same time, you see Satoru running. And this right here was telling, because you see Mitsuki in Sage mode. Mitsuki only uses Sage mode when he has to save Boruto. If you notice, the other time he had the power, the only time he used it was when he was training
and
with.
Then he said, "I'm really mad." Like the line he said, yes. Like, you really didn't push me over the line or something.
Exactly. And mind you, he only used it when he's training with his father, Orochimaru. And every time he uses Shade mode, and especially in the anime and the manga as well too, was to save Boruto from a dangerous situation. And then right here, you see Kawaki's face; he has blood on it. I think that's right there because he's noticing that him and Momoshiki are talking to each other, and I think he's gonna get in between. And that's right, when you see the blood in his face, I think that's the infamous scar that Boruto gets from Kawaki.
You know what I just thought about? Because there's certain looks within this scene that Eida gives Boruto, right? I think she knows, and I think what Amado knows, that there's something back, because I think she can see the future, can't she? I think that's one of her abilities or something. Like when they was,
I think it's only the current timeline in the past.
Oh, if she can't see the future, then I might be wrong. But I think they might know exactly what's about to happen, because it was the way she was kind of looking at him like she knew he was talking to somebody. But I guess she would know anyway because she can see almost everything. But I think they just gonna let it play out, because I think it works in their best interest for whatever's about to happen. If Momoshiki's about to retake over Boruto's body, that would be interesting.
So what did it take when you see Momoshiki? I mean, what's your take when you see Miski activate his Sage Bone?
Oh, I think that's gonna be kind of lit just to see. I want to see just the matchup, worst to difference. But based on what Amado was just telling us, Kawaki should just smash him through. Because I mean, that's just a weaker version of what he has.
And then right now you see, Boruto basically come back to reality and stuff, and he just looks in utter shock right now. He was like, "Yo, what the fuck was that?" And then you see Momoshiki, the panel right here. He looks fucking depressed himself too. He looks like so down and stuff. And then you see Eida, like you said before, looking at him. And that's how the chapter ends. And right now, she's like, "You're talking to somebody." And then right there, she's probably gonna tell Kawaki like, "Yo, I think your boy Boruto is talking to Momoshiki," and that's how I think this entire message just goes down right here.
Something like that, because we know Kawaki knows something because he's seen Momoshiki. So we know he's seen him. So he knows something's happening. So I feel like what's gonna have to happen is I think Boruto's gonna have to do something that like makes Kawaki think he's getting taken over. And he's just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like kill you. So I think he's gonna do something that's like down there push of the edge. But then it has to be something that I guess no one else saw happen. Because they didn't bring that up. They was only chasing Kawaki. Which is interesting.
I know.
But this all could be done by Eida too, though, because she does have that ability to make everybody think like, "Oh, go after Kawaki," like, you know what I mean?
And you know what's gonna happen? I think Boruto's gonna try to stop what happens to him, but no matter what, when certain things are just that's gonna happen to you no matter what. You could try to change it, but no matter what's gonna happen in a different way.
He gonna kill Sasuke. He's gonna. I feel like how this is playing down, and with the Sasuke Rinden novels coming out, you know they plotting. That's what it's gonna be. I'm telling. That's what. If it happens, call it here first. 11/21/2020 12/22 at 6:05. I'm calling it Sasuke dying.
I think they lifted was the cliffhangers. Like I wish they would have showed a little bit more of what was going on in the future. You know what I mean? Granted, I know it's a little glimpse of all that stuff, but as of right now, like I think next chapter, this is when the beginning of shit goes down with this mission.
Yeah. Well, you thought one thing I thought was confusing though. I thought like in the beginning of like the end of the last chapter, Sasuke was in that room. I thought he was. Maybe I was wrong, but I thought it was him, Sasuke, and Naruto, and Shikamaru and Amado. But then he wasn't in there. Maybe I was wrong. I need to look back and see. But I swear I thought he was there.
I think Sasuke's doing some other shit. I think he's probably trying to find code right now.
Well, yeah, I guess he could, but that don't even make sense. He can't even go through universes.
I think he's flying with Sosuno now. I don't think he's using the dimension. He has to fly now.
He probably like, you know what? He probably taking a break, time off, vacation. Like y'all send me on when the missions are impossible. I don't get no go catch the cat from down the street. I get, hey, we need you to fight a Ishiki. Or what? So excuse me? I can't keep doing that. Like,
and I feel like after this, I feel like because at the same time, it's like where's Damon and Eida in this situation in the future? And I think Eida and Damon are gonna ride with Kawaki no matter what because you know how Eida is in love with Kawaki. So basically, Kawaki has his own little army with Kawaki, with Eida and Damon.
It really depends because it's gonna be hard to see who can beat them because they got some interesting abilities to like you can't sneak up on them, you can't have the intent to want to kill them. Like it's like if they do die, I think that's gonna be one of the best chapters ever.
Like Sean, you know what I just thought about right now? This can be really crazy. Wow, this is all fighting between Kawaki and Boruto. Boruto's knocked out right now and all stuff. What I think is going on. Cole just comes and invade the village.
That's something that could happen too. Because I mean, the last time we seen him, he had like got the 10 tails together or whatever he was doing. I hope he actually invades some other villages just to kind of get them on this in the storyline a little bit more so we can see what they're doing to kind of prepare for this. But to be honest with you, when Amado flat out basically said ninjutsu is nothing compared to what's Shinjutsu, and we're about to basically bring in that into the next forte, I'm trying to figure out how they're gonna get people to that level. Like, you know what I mean?
See, like
Interesting.
chapter like this is the reason why like Boruto can be a great, manga. Like this right here shows you the potential of greatness right here. If we could get this month in and month out, hands down, Boruto would be considered one of the best, new gen mangas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it felt like a decent chapter. It felt
Oh,
long. It felt like you got enough of everything, enough
mhm.
just enough of everything you needed to make the chapter. Just Amado even being questioned, you still feel like he's still controlling the situation, even with Shikamaru like questioning the things he do, and you just like, and I like how he's like kind of setting it up because like the things he's saying can be checked. Like he hasn't really said anything that's like you would have to truly believe Amado because he's the only one that knows this. Well, I guess not even. I guess the god, but the Momoshiki kind of confirmed that. So it's like Amado, he a beast. If this all a lie, this is some of the best like snake tonguing I've ever seen.
Oh,
ever.
definitely, hands down.
Like, I would love to see Orochimaru here because I would love for Orochimaru, like if Orochimaru just been like, oh, bullshit. Like, calls her down, like, because to me, he's like the only other person who would kind of know about these Utsushis. Like,
and plus, people will go crazy for seeing Orochimaru again. Same thing how Dragon Ball always keeps around Frieza. Bring Orochimaru back into this to this fold of the story right here. He fits perfect with everything that's going on right now.
Maybe that's where Sasuke at. He's like, you know what? You're the only motherfucker I truly believe. I would love to see a chapter with just him and Sasuke.
He was like, yo, Sensei, I need you back, dog.
He'd be like, this is what this man telling me. Tell me how much of that is possible. And then you just see, like, he look over it and he'd be like, oh, yeah, I got some shit on your hands. Or if Orochimaru already knows this is going on, that would be the big shit. He'd be like, oh, yeah, I already seen that happening about 5 years ago.
But one thing, though, I think Orochimaru is going to play a factor in this story because, remember, every time Mitsuki uses stage mode, it puts a toll on his body. So we're going to see Orochimaru again, probably to fix up the Mitsuki.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And basically kind of give us a power level differential between the nature energy, because we all been saying like maybe Naruto need to go back out and train in sage mode. I feel like we're about to see a chapter when we're gonna be like, oh, maybe he need to learn something else. That is not working anymore. All
right, Rishan, before we end this, what would you rank this chapter out of 10?
I gave this, when I first read it and I was geek, I said, 10. Then I was like, nah, it's probably like an 8. It's an 8.
Really?
I gave it an 8. And only reason why I gave it an 8 and not like a flat like 10 is I feel like for me to give it a 10, me personally, I would have liked to have seen some action or something what Cole was doing. I think the bringing in the whole like new Otsutsuki and all of that was interesting. But I just kind of, when I said earlier, I kind of feel like some of this is being kind of like just thrown at us because we in Boruto and they didn't like prepare for it, which I think would have made this so much better.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna give the chapter 9 out of 10. Definitely, we got so many things. We got Shibai, we got Amado, the reason why he's doing all this before Ikabe, and then we get Boruto seeing the future, man. Like this right here is setting up so many good things to go to. Like to the point, like, is this future gonna happen in the next chapter? 2 chapters from now? Like this right here, like you don't know what's gonna go on right now.
You know what I thought was so funny about that? Because I like you see Eida looking at him while he's doing this, right? And I was wondering, have you ever seen the show That's So Raven? Mm-hmm. And you know how like she go and like do that face when she moves the vision? And I went in there, everybody looking like,
oh my god, I'm dead. All right, Rayshawn, you got anything else?
Yeah, I think that was good. I had fun.
All right, so before we end this, guys, Rayshawn, where can everybody else find you at?
You guys can find me on all your podcasting platforms. Just search up Rayshawn Gatson Anime Podcast or RGAT for short. I'm pretty sure most of my links will be below. So check.
Also hit the subscribe button, be part of the coaching and talk about anime, sports, and everything as well too.
Peace.